vast crowds which fill the stands are hushed. The ceremony is about to begin, and the Chief Registrar of the Federal Supreme Court reads the commission under the Royal Sign Manual and Signet, to which Her Majesty's signature is subscribed.
We do by this our commission under Sign Manual and Signet appoint you, the said Nnamdi Azikiwe, to be during our pleasure our Governor General and Commander-in-Chief of the Federation of Nigeria, with all the powers, rights, privileges appertaining.
The oath of allegiance follows.
I, Nnamdi Azikiwe, do swear that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II, her heirs and successors, according to law. So help me God. I, Nnamdi Azikiwe, do swear that I will well and truly serve Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth in the office of Governor General of the Federation of Nigeria. So help me God.
By this simple ceremony, Dr. Azikiwe takes his place as the honored successor of the many distinguished men who have held this high office. He is now His Excellency the Governor General. But to the people of Nigeria, he will always be Zeke, the man who fought for freedom, the man who never deviated from the goal he had set himself.
All right, you're welcome back. Quite an iconic clip there as late Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe taking up an oath, swearing allegiance to the Majesty. Now, away from that, October 1, 1960 rather, many leaders, from the Nnamdi Azikiwe, Tafawa Balewa, the military taking over Guyi in Ronsi, and many of them, Olusegun Obasanjo is still alive, by the way, and Murtala Mohammed, Shehu Shagari, many of those leaders, till Buhari, during former President Muhammadu Buhari, a general then, was a leader, in his khaki wears at the time, and then Babangida is still alive as well. And then the issue that happened with the 1993 June 12, the interim government of Ernest Shonekan, and of course, General Sani Abacha, late now, Abdulsalam Abubakar, Obasanjo coming on again, Goodluck Jonathan, the late Umar Musa Yar'Adua, and of course, Goodluck Jonathan, rather, before Umar Musa Yar'Adua. After Umar Musa Yar'Adua took over, after he died, and all of these leaders, Goodluck Jonathan to President Muhammadu Buhari, now we have President Bola Ahmed Tinubu himself. That wasn't sequential, by the way, but all of these leaders, they have been on the mark. They have tried their best. 1960 to 2024, is that the best that Nigeria can offer? Is that the best that we can have? How about the promise, the vision of the founding fathers? Are we living that dream right now? We have with us, virtually joining us today, an elder statesman by all regard, and responsibility as well. And he was the former publicity secretary for the Pan-Yoruba social group Afenifere. And we have with us Mogaji, Gboyega, Adejumo. Good morning, sir, and happy Independence Day to you. Mogaji, if you can hear me, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
All right, happy Independence Day anniversary to you, sir.
I would want to deviate a little. What is happy about a child at 64 that is still grappling with crawling? I'm not sure the mood of the country would allow me to be factual enough
But this little, I will say, this same mood can only inform all of us to be retrospective, to think back, to have an inflection, and wonder what has happened to the promise that started about 64 years ago. So I'm not sure there's anything to be happy about. People just would not be so happy to find themselves in this situation.
All right.
What we can just do is talk about it and see whether there's something that we can do to salvage a very, very bad situation.
All right, Mogaji. And sorry, fair enough that you feel nothing to really celebrate. But many persons will say, yes, we have our challenges. And you said maybe the mood of the nation will allow you to be factual. In fact, that's why you are here. By all rights and privileges and responsibility, people like you, an elder statesman, we expect you to speak truth to power. And that's why we are very happy to have you on this program. But then, it is the mood of the nation. The government has said, we will celebrate it on a low key. The challenges are there. We'll speak to that. And of course, we drink from the pool of your wisdom to find, not just to identify the challenges, but to provide solution, maybe for another 64 years ahead. But now, let's get into the matter. The prospect, the promise. You know, we just saw the clip of the highly referred Ohiole of Onitsha. That's Dr. Nnamdi Azikiwe, late now, with all the fanfare and many of those persons who came together to say, we can govern ourselves, and this is what we are going to do. They got that independence, many of them, but their vision is that what we are living right now. But let me start from this point, sir. You were around before independence. Was there anything called the Nigerian vision pre-independence, or we were just saying we are ready to govern ourselves, give us our autonomy, and then we go full blast into self, governance? But ab initio, many persons, young persons like myself, are asking, was there anything like a Nigerian vision? Was there a document stating how this nation will go, what the promises were, how are we supposed to do this at every particular point in time? Was there anything like that?
I don't think there was anything like a Nigerian vision, and I must tell you straight up. The British had a vision of how to manage the southern and northern protectorates. The northern protectorate was not a visible, viable commercial venture. But then the southern protectorate, we had palm oil from the Ohiole region of the old core, cross rivers of Gboyega rivers. We had farm produce from the west. We had cocoa and every other farm produce. We had, commercial quantities of trees and other naturally occurring, financially sustaining resources. In the east too, there was coal and the rest. So the southern protectorate was very viable. The northern protectorate was not. There was an idea which originally was about the Royal Niger Company being able to make dividends from whatever they think is their investment in this part, which they eventually named Nigeria. As to the people, of course, we were manipulated. We were manipulated. It wasn't because somebody truly liked us to come together. And, in the West, we had our own ideas. Femi Awolowo actually defined what a nation should be. A nation state is an entity that has all the aspirations of a nation state. The same culture, the same language, the same ways of doing things, the same focus. We live in dignity in the western part, or let's say the southwest now. We say Bashi Biegula Biomo, but there is a feudal system in the north, which is of subserviency. So we were just all lumped together in such a manner as to perhaps only hope that after a while we'll be able to settle down and become one. So I couldn't see any nationalistic vision, other than the fact that we succeeded for a period, starting from the 1953 Constitutional Conference in London, to be able to establish a federal state, which of course is no more a federal state. We actually are practically run a unitary state, which is yet another anomaly. We achieved a little of that. We achieved a little of self-governance with the experimental leader of business in 1951 in the Southwest, and then the premier that came in 54. But with all of that came 1957, which many people don't even talk about. Many people don't probably know that as far back as 1957, without any election, the British appointed Sir Tafawa Balewa as the Prime Minister. 1957. On what basis? On the basis that, oh, the North are larger in number, which was debunked in the 1959 election. In the 1959 election, the NCNC had the highest number of votes, followed by the AG. Even the very North that they credited with the highest number of seats had the least number of votes. So all of these manipulations could not have meant the very best for, in that sense, an imagination. So all these traps were there. And when they commissioned the great Wole Soyinka to write a play to commemorate the independence in 1960, he chose a play and he titled it A Dance in the Forest. That should have warned many people. Who dances in the forest? Those are just about elementals, the demons, the ghosts. Who are those who dance in the forest? And in that play, he predicted that within 5 years, the union was going to break, and that was so. So there's always the need to be prescient. There's always the need to be reflective. I wouldn't see what will make anybody to have that euphoria in 1960. Let's start. Number one, those who were deserving of victory were not given victory. And then, of course, there was this idea that Chief Awolowo floated and said to Zik, we can't allow these people who do not even share all our vision, and we can't entrust this country to the hands of those who don't have the same kind of aspirations. Let's try and see whether we can salvage this country. He actually offered to serve as Zik's deputy. They were to meet in Asaba. But then, of course, if you read far in certain libraries and books that are available, and that's another thing that Nigerians don't do, you will see how the British were able to simply jump into that, deflected that move, and got Zik to walk by force with Ahmadu Bello and create that alliance that led to Zik being the first, the Governor General, and then when we became a republic, by default in 1963, he became the president. So all of these things were booby traps. They were red flags. There's no way the background information leading to 1960 will have produced something that will have turned out to be different from what we had. And that is the gospel truth. One of the things we do in this country is to lie to ourselves. I'm an optimist. In fact, if you give me a glass of water, some people will say it's half full. Some will say it's half empty. I would rather say that just drink up the water and forget about the controversy. So the thing is, I will only be that very, very optimistic when I see all the signs. I will become circumspect and reflect. I can only look back and see how we got here, and it's pathetic.
All right, Mogaji, are you saying that the marriage that brought about what we now have as Nigeria is flawed? It was
very flawed. Let's face it. You must bring something to the table. You call it a marriage. So are you saying that it is a part where somebody is meant to sustain everything? Even if you're not bringing something of the material sort, what about something of the moral sort? We say in Yoruba land that when we are sending off our daughters, we say, don't take your beauty, take your moral instincts. Where is the morality in what happened in 1960? Where is the morality? As soon as we had that independence, we had this population census in 1963. And I want you guys to do this. We still have Dr. Victor Olunloyo alive. He's in Ibadan. And I would want you to go and interview him. He was the one who was the returning officer for the North in that population census. What they simply did was to add 20 million to the number in the North, just to deceive us. And we are still being deceived with all of that till today. So tell me what can come out of a fraudulent situation? If Papa Awolowo said Nigeria is a mere geographical expression, at the end of the day, he advocated that there should be a clause in the Lithuanian Constitution of 1954 that if any of the federating units should feel that it's not getting his own fair share, then he should be allowed to go. Zik opposed it. There is an interview that I can send to you guys in which he said he regretted even opposing it. They not even agreed to it, but the British opposed it. Of course, they had their reasons. The neo-colonialist idea was to continue to be the overlord, and to reap from whatever we try to do as a country to benefit their own economic situation at home. So, and then again in 1959, he tried, before the independence, to still put back that clause. In which case, if you say there is a marriage, yes, but then there's still divorce. If the marriage is not going well, we are not allowed to leave the divorce, we are not allowed to negotiate, we are not allowed to restructure. Then what is this marriage all about?
All right, Mogaji, let's speak to what you said earlier about Nigeria not having a vision. You know, you mentioned earlier that the country doesn't have a vision, and so it seems as though we are just, working without any focus. What happened to the numerous or the various constitutional conferences that held in the 1950s, leading to the independence year 1960, where we had different leaders and the British leaders come together, to discuss the country's future? Was there no vision at all in all of that?
That's exactly the point. When you're unusually yoked, unevenly yoked, if you want to go into a negotiation, you go to negotiation with partners. You go into negotiation with those that can be called along to operate on that reasoning level. You have to have all the faculties examined, presented, all the options properly debated. Papa Awolowo was given a whole 1 day in the greatest of all the constitutional conferences to argue out issues like Lagos, for example. How would you want to go into a union and they want the heartbeat of the Yoruba, where we have the sea, where history and oral tradition and all that gave us the sea, where our people were in situ before the British came, and then you want now say is a no man's land. You have to argue it out completely before that was even agreed that okay, we'll make only a part of Lagos to be the federal, and then the rest will go to the Western state. Why should you want to struggle? Why should you want to jostle with what is yours? If something is mine, it's mine. Why would anybody want to come into a union with me, and the first intention he has is to take a valuable part of me away from me? And we are supposed to sit down and be friends and agree on a structure. Look at what has happened to the river of Okun. Look at what has happened to Ilorin. All of these things were tried by our leaders in the West in all of these constitutional conferences. But then the stakes were so high. The British had made it such that it was always going to be about divide and rule. So whatever we wanted, if it doesn't suit them, they will look for any of the other partners. They partner with them, they knock it out. They use all manners of equations, with 3 against 1, even when it's 2 against 2. they will still find a way to make that two to which they belong to roll and fall on their own side. So it was never a case of 2-4, 2 against, and then somebody to decide. It was the East, the West, the North, and the British. And give me such a time that Yoruba have been able to get the very best of our leaders in terms of optics and intellect to go and negotiate with us, other than those periods. With the British, who we thought should be the naturally non-affected, fair, and just arbiters. But they were not.
All right.
So all of these things for only one vision. The British just wanted to lump us together, put us there at their beck and call, be able to do whatever they would like to do in terms of our numbers, call upon us when they have the need, and in our commerce and other activities of the transactional elements, reap from our natural resources. So it's all glaring unless we want to. And even when we now announce to the whole world that money is not our problem, is how to spend it, they made sure that they ruined it for us. There's a friend of mine that I want you to interview him, Balogun Akinoshitoku, who went to spend 1 year at Cambridge to do his fellowship. The amount of information he saw made him to be so depressed for months in terms of all of the umbrage, all of the subtle plans and not so subtle plans that the British had put together just to make sure that out of all of this, it is the British that will gain the very best. And you want to leave people to fend for themselves, shortchanged. The least you could have done is to make it even so that there could be areas where you can easily do the exit mode. But they made everything so sealed. So Soyinka got it right. I was with him some time before the 2023 election to reflect upon what truly happened before that independence thing. How, as a young man, he wrote that book, predicting when everybody was full of joy and shouting and raising flags. He raised the red flag. What did he see? But then what he saw is all glaring. It's just that somehow we, in that element of wanting to simply take something without deep thinking, we just fly with it. We don't look so deep. And then even those who come up with this ability to be able to generate all of this, well, they are called names. I have had to go through all of that. But does it matter? No. The truth has to be said. Otherwise, we will never get it right.
All right, Mogaji, there are people who posit that Nigeria got our independence probably too early. The belief that we got it on a platter and also too early, and this actually contributed to some of the mistakes we made in our journey. Do you agree to that? Do you subscribe to that argument that probably if we had had its way much later?
No, I don't think we got it early. None got it early, none got it late. It's all about the system full of not just potholes, but actually all the mines. Even if you try to evade most of the mines, are you sure you'll be able to cross the entire field that is mined without having to have stepped on one or two? And look, what happened in India? Well, India, you know how it is. It was a case of nationalities, just like Nigeria. There was India, there was Pakistan, there was Bangladesh. There was a prolonged war shortly before the independence. The British now realized that they couldn't just continue without one single India. So they had to allow Pakistan to go. Pakistan too got to know at a stage that they couldn't just continue with the retinue of others who are not Muslims among them. So Bangladesh too had to leave Pakistan. That was 1948. So was that early? If they got in 48, we got it in 60. Were we late? So it is not about timing. It's about the structures that were put there, either to help or to make the inevitable happen. Ghana got it in 57, but then Ghana's civilian rule too was short-lived. So it is always going to be down to what did you put in. If you are to just analyze it, even in the academic world, we've seen geniuses who passed university, who passed through, who got degrees, who got PhDs even at 14, 15. Is it early? Is it late? It is simply situational. If everything was right, what is stopping in fact, the family that is supposed to be the most endowed family in the world is a Nigerian family living in the UK. 3 children who got their PhDs by age of 14 or thereabout. If they happen to have lived in Nigeria, not in the UK, probably the school system will not even have allowed them to go through normal 4 years. Maybe they will do 8 years, and so it's always going to be situational. But in every situation, before you jump, analyze. Before you take a decision, think. Before you now begin to take those steps, from baby steps to crawling and every other thing, analyze each level, each step. Know if you are getting it right. If you are not, then you make amends. If you are doing so well, then you continue to do all of these things that will make you to do well. But what has happened to us? We do the same thing. We get the same bad results. Rather than change, we continue with the same process of doing the same thing and getting the bad result. And then we blame the people.
All right.
We tell the people to make more sacrifices. That is an escapist way of doing things. Yeah. Earlier, we all sit down together to reevaluate how we got here. The better for us to be able to know what will become of the future of this country.
All right. And Mogaji, it's good that, that's why we started from the pre-independence story and the coming together of the leaders then. Now, you said it was albeit flawed, by the way, because it was more like a marriage of inconvenience of people who were not at the same wavelength of reason and thinking. But then they came together and Nigeria was birthed, by the way. But let's move away from that flaw that you talk about. Let's talk about leadership, really. From the 1960 to 2024 right now, the civilian rule, and we took off in 1960, and many persons believed in some school of thought that maybe we started well, irrespective of the contraption and the booby traps, everything. And maybe in 1966, the Kaduna Nzogu-led coup, very bloody one, that brought in Agui in Ronze. Maybe it was one of the albatross. We got it wrong from that point. And, we have been struggling since that time. Yes, the civilian rule came back again after Obasanjo, as regime at the time, brought in Shagari, and many of them till 2024. Many Nigerians will say, we can blame the British all we want. To say they gave us, they were independent, but they never really left. Their hands were still in our affairs to say, how about us as a people? We are old enough to govern ourselves 64 years down the line. Yeah, we might not say it's all gloom and doom, but then we can't say we have a stable electricity 64 years down the line. We can't even feed ourselves down the line. Maybe we tried at some point, 60s, 70s, 80s, but now everything is just down the line. Some of the nations that we were running, far, far behind, Singapore, Malaysia, many of them now are now destination countries for some of our people. Let's speak to the leadership of our own people from 1960, from the from the Azikwe days to what we have right now. Won't you say the culpability belongs to us and not just trying to point accusing fingers at the British or maybe leaders at that time, because some were from the north and some were from the south.
Now let's talk. Let's talk. I'm happy please. You brought all of this up. I was at a forum yesterday, and I'm still going to continue what I was trying to say there, that the presidential system has failed us. And somebody said, oh, it's not about system, it's about the fact that every system is good, but this is about the people, which is almost like what you are saying. And I said, no. Why people say, oh, but then the first, I will always prefer the parliamentary system to the presidential. And somebody said, oh, why was it failed? And I will begin to laugh. Number one, we got independence in 1960. The coup didn't happen until 1966. So we had 6 years, 6 good years of the parliamentary system. The coup came, but the coup came because of the misappropriation, the misconception, and the misapplication of power. What happened in just a 4-wall enclosure of the Western House of Assembly, where a honorable Oke from Gboyega East Constituency 2 shouted fire on the mountain, war, 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 and then they started throwing chairs, became what a prime minister in Lagos declared a state of emergency. Where is it done? Even up till 3 years ago, a major parliament in Europe, they were still throwing chairs and beating themselves, much more than what happened in the Western House of Assembly. So you are right in a way, it could be about leadership. But there was about the application of sense. It's no more about leadership, it's about politics. We all know what happened between Akintola and the AG. I was in Jos for the Jos massacre with Papa Adejumo, and I took the time to take the old man to Hill Station Jos. He didn't know I was doing that, but I wanted to just prick his conscience, to let him have a reminiscence about what happened in that Jos Convention of AG 1962. So many things are wrong because many elements have been introduced into the Nigerian sphere: corruption, prebendalism, nepotism, and the rest of it. And then this matter of the enemy of your enemy is my friend in politics, this matter of ethnicity, tribalism, this matter of ganging up of ethnic groups. But then if you say the parliamentary system was not good, and I will continue to argue, it lasted 6 years. For how long did the Shagari one of 79 to 83 last? 4 years. So even if you want to use statistics, which one is better? But again, it's no more about statistics. You mentioned Singapore, Malaysia, and I'm happy. Mr. Pata, that Awolowo was sent to both Malaysia, not just Malaysia, and Indonesia, with with palm trees, was the one who trained them. We now buy it from them today as palm oil, as vegetable oil. It's not vegetable oil, it's from our palm oil. Why have we not been able to do it? But in my extensive years with the World Bank as a consultant, I saw documents saying that the growth in the Southwest between 1955 and 1962 cannot be rivaled anywhere else in the world. It's still about leadership. It's about the right kind of people in the right kind of system, which worked for us. If it was only us operating that system or parliamentary system in the Southwest, we won't be where we are today. But of course, a system can be good, just like the parliamentary system is. And the system can be bad, just as the presidential system is. But bad and good is all about situation. Well, I still want to find that economist that will tell me that the highest we've ever made in a year is more than $25 to $28 billion. But if you go to the fire department of New York, New York City, not New York State, the fire department New York City, their own budget is about 35 billion, higher than the entire budget of Nigeria. And you want to run a presidential system with all the bicameral legislature, with all the almost 500 and something legislators in Abuja, and the 33,
Mogaji,
32 in my state.
if you allow me...
Please, let me just finish, please.
Yes.
All I'm just trying to say is this. the human element can be there. The fact that we don't have the kind of leaders that ought to be there are still dependent on the system we run. If you have somebody that is good, but then he cannot buy a form to be councillor, he cannot afford 10 million to run to be councillor, he cannot afford 50 million to run to be chairman, then there's something wrong with that system.
Right.
It's as simple as that. We have the problems of politics that made the First Republic to collapse are different from what we are feeling today. In the First Republic, with the parliamentary system, we didn't have a problem of money and we didn't have oil. Oil did not come until 1965, and there was no boom until 1972, 73. So how did we do it in the First Republic? Today we have oil, we have everything, but then we are as broke as hell.
All right.
We are spending about 70 to 90% to service debt, and yet we are still not thinking well that we have a system that we cannot run. It's sickening the way we go about all of these excuses. Escapism,
please permit me to brought in
we are either benefiting from the system, or we are too lazy to think, or we just do not have the energy to confront all of these problems together, and we just leave it to God, just like we do every day. Not well. Church used to be Sundays, but now everybody is going to the mountain every day, and those problems will never be solved by prayer.
All right, fair enough that we talked about the system that we run, you have made, quite an argument to say maybe parliamentary system is the best. You have, given some evidence as well. But some will say that it's the people that make the system. Does the system make the people? But then the quality of leadership, that's why I asked that question the other time. Okay, from the 1960 leaders to what we have now, let's even fast forward. The 1999, the civilian rule that we have unbroken, by the way, 25 years from Obasanjo to Umaru Musa Yar'Adua, to Goodluck Jonathan, to President Muhammadu Buhari, and, to President Tinubu right now. How would you describe, because some persons, their opinion, and is what we are talking about now, have said maybe we've had a decrease in the quality of leaders that can stand in the gap, irrespective of the system. By the way, President Tinubu spoke this morning. He addressed Nigerians, and he started with this particular line to say, fellow Nigerians, I address you today. I'm deeply aware of the struggles many of you face in these challenging times. Our administration knows that many of you struggle with rising living costs and the search for meaningful employment. I want to assure you that your voices are heard. And then he continued about what he's been able to achieve, the promises, and where Nigeria is heading, and all of that. If I may, Mogaji, sorry, let me just land, sir.
Please,
yes, please let me just land, sir, so that you can take it all together because of time.
Please, can I just, I know what you're trying to say, please.
No, it's because of time. We have to go, and I want you to take it all together, sir. Yes, sir, thank you. Now, the quality of leadership from 1999 till now, some will say maybe it's a flip-flop kind of a thing. Some will say it's a decline in the quality of what these people stand for, respectfully to all of them. Now the leader has spoken this morning.
Can I just get on with what I need to say?
What do you make of that?
I understand what you are trying to say.
Yes.
Trust me. As soon as you start, I will know where you're going. Number one, we had a good president in Obasanjo who did all the best he could do within all that is available to him in terms of intellect, in terms of training, in terms of even Omoluabi and the rest. They tried to do the balancing, yes. But we had a Yar'Adua who messed up. People will give him credit, I would not.
How so?
How could, hold on please, how could the refineries that were so moribund, that were not producing anything, and Obasanjo was there, they tricked him just like they would trick every president, but he refused to be tricked. After a while, that they should continue to put money into it. He refused to be tricked that these same refineries that have not produced one drop, and then 200 billion naira is being spent on maintaining the people that are there. They will go on overseas training and the rest. They will take emoluments. Obasanjo decided enough was enough. He decided he was going to sell them. You cannot imagine if he had sold them. Number one, will have been rid of having to have spent about $5 billion repairing them. Up till today, none of them has dropped a drop.
Mogaji, many persons said that process was flawed. He said it was flawed. I sold it to his cronies. That was the allegation.
You're not allowing me to talk.
Please, sir.
Yar'Adua came and said the people in the north said no, they won't allow the refineries to be sold. So it is about sectional interest. It's not about the interest of Nigeria. It's about the interest of a certain part of the country who dictated to that president who came from that certain part of the country to rescind that fantastic decision of Obasanjo's. And then from all of that, we had a Jonathan who tried his best, who didn't quite use party men in areas that are so important. I mean, economy. There are certain areas that are important. The United Nations has it in its charter and all of that. Even the World Bank maintains it, that if you want to get out of poverty, at least 16% of your budget must go on health, 16% on education. We've been running our budgets on 6%. It must be crazy. But then what happened? The president still did what he had to do. He was the only one who even achieved a little about education. He raised it to about 10%. And he built a majority schools and all that. What happened? They hounded him out. Based on what? We have people in this country that will even send their own children to go and do suicide bombing just to clear out a southern Christian president. Does that make sense? So we've had issues. We had a president who was removed, a military president, basically head of state at the age of 40 or 41, who didn't go back to school, who didn't give any lecture, who never wrote a book, who did not even serve in any international body. And worst of all, he didn't even try to join the corporate world to get to know how the country is run. And you bring him to come and run a modern Nigeria in 2015. We must be crazy. We seriously must be crazy. Now you are reeling out what Mr. President said this morning. And I was getting a bit infuriated. What the hell? Who talks down to people that way? If you want to show us that you know our pain, why did you buy that plane? Why did you buy that extra airplane? Okay, they've seized some planes now. Have you grounded your travels? As the Nigerian state stopped to function, you bought a yacht. Is there water in Abuja? You bought an Escalade. You had to go to Maiduguri. They had to carry that Escalade with you, which is probably better than even the car of the president. You now built another house for the vice president for 22 billion, and Nigerians are suffering. Meanwhile, America has 15 ministers. 50 America or 50 states, 3 times the size. In fact, Texas alone is bigger than Nigeria, one state. And you now have 15, just 15 ministers in America. We have 48. Now he's starting another ministry. He's going to add 1 or 2 ministers. Maybe it will be 50 ministers. Onasaye had said that out of the about 500 parastatals and agencies, reduce them to 128. This is the president who told us he's going to implement it. He's added more parastatals. And for crying out loud, all these costs and wastages, who is bearing it? You and I. You want to say that Nigerians will continue to be of sacrifice, and you are not ready to sacrifice one thing, just even one thing. Look, the American president feeds himself. The family, they go to groceries and buy. It is Nigeria's money that is being used to buy spoons. Go and find out how much the budget for spoons in Aso Rock. Go and find out how much the budget for medicals at Aso Rock. Yet they will still go to the American hospital in France on Nigeria's money. We had the president who went out of Nigeria for 103 days, the first time. Second time, 65 days. The third time, 88 days. Out of how many days that he would need to serve. So if you want to tell me about leadership, what I'll simply tell you that leadership is the reflection of the people. If at this age of civilization, at this age of quantum physics, at this age of quantum computer, at this age of globalization, and the internet has brought us all closer, these are the kind of people we throw up as leaders. And somebody will still want to be sending me tracts, or somebody will still going to be preaching. I had somebody who even preach on the pulpit and say, now dollar, I talk to you, calm down. People are saying amen. Is that the way dollar comes down? So we are just a physical.
Yes, sir.
We are just
yes, sir.
We are just
are you saying, sir, that
who are not ready to even face the situation as it is?
Yeah, are you saying we are the enablers?
Hold on, please.
Yeah.
That's the reason some of us are saying that only on restructuring can we have a semblance of a life. Only on restructuring can even this country survive. Before President Obasanjo will even agree to it. I know what I had to do. I was with him for about 3 days in his house to convince him before he could even agree that restructuring is what will save Nigeria. We need to have a conversation. We need to sit. All the ethnic nationalities, we need to sit. We need to talk. If we continue this way, there will be no country left.
Mogaji, we had a conversation in 2014,
like Sudan,
we had the national conference in 2014.
The Central African Republic, they had this. In fact, where we are today was where Central African Republic was about 4 years ago. What has happened since then?
Please permit me to come here at this time.
And then we think that somebody is coming to help us.
Yes,
somebody is coming to help us. We
Mogaji,
have to help ourselves.
If I may, you're talking about conversation. We need to talk. Many just to say we have been talking pre-independence. We talked just as early as 2014. The national conference. We talked. We have always been talking. Many persons will say,
the conversation
maybe we talked about we being enabled.
Throughout the time, hold on, please. When some of us stood on Jonathan in 2013, that we must have this conversation.
Yeah.
He first said he didn't want it, but at the end of the day, he did it. It was Dr. Okunomu who provided the framework. It was all about Afenifere. It was Professor Bolaji Akinyemi and this man is late now, good man from the north, that co-chaired it. We had that conversation in 2014.
And nothing came out of it now.
Brought Buhari in, and you say we don't have it. Throughout the time Buhari was, even when Obasanjo was there was conversation. The only thing that truncated that was those people who brought in the third term thing. So throughout Buhari, 8 years, which conversation did we have? Now we are into the second year of President Tinubu. Is he even thinking of having a conversation? So some of us even try to reach him to say, look, you are there now. You are a product of a school that is 73 years old, that has a blueprint for all of these things. There is nothing that is happening that can happen to this country that Awolowo has not written in all of his 14 books. If you give me something, one topic, I'll say, go and read it here. Talk about agriculture, talk about education, talk about health, talk about how to arrange all the issues on the hierarchy scale, what to do first, or how to get there, where we are. All of them are there. This man wrote all of these things without Google, without internet, straight from his head. We have such a repository of knowledge and wisdom, and we are not using it. So what do you call such a person? Now, what do you call such a nation? So even when some of us try to reach him, that look, you don't even have to do so much. Carry these Baba's books, read, find solutions. Let's go back to restructuring. What has happened? In a way, the answer came yesterday, which simply says, oh, if we do restructuring, the Biafra people will go. So what would it matter if the Biafra people go? If you are not going to allow them to be president, then why are you keeping them? Let them go now. And then if they go, that will free me too. If they go, then my Oduduwa too will come. One of the things that we need to do is that conversation. Either we continue, or we continue with this mutually assured destruction. We take a peek, and people think that it is not going to happen. Well, I'm not young like I used to be. I've done the best I can. So I'm a grandfather now. So what do I have to worry? But then there's that the 96-year-old Papa Devanjo who still worry every day. So I can't simply just wash my hands. Otherwise, what is the matter? Let them look from the table of banquets that we have set before ourselves. Let us eat out of it.
All right,
what you sow, you reap. What you cook, you eat. So let's wait and see whether it will benefit them if they continue not to hold conversation, if they continue not to interrogate the situation. If what they want to do is just to vote according to tribal and religious lines, let them do it without reasoning. Then the future is mutually assured.
All right, sir. Yeah.
All right, so Mogaji, are you saying that the president that we have now in the person of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu does not have the political will to go down the road of restructuring for a better Nigeria?
It's all rhetoric, it's just all gas. It's just all gas. Show us, don't tell me. What is the use of you telling me? You are even insulting my sensibilities by telling me something and you are doing something else. Okay, if you had come out on this Independence Day to say, half of my salary I'm donating to the maintenance of a certain section. I've told the members of my cabinet to do the same. I'm going to advise the National Assembly to do the same. I'm going to cut costs here. Look, we continue to pay, and I want anybody to challenge me. We continue to pay between 200 billion and 300 billion naira on those refineries that are not working. Since 2021, we spent $3 billion on those refineries that are not working. Now, what is all of this subsidy you are telling that Nigeria is offering to the people? The one that is the wastages that is going on is 2, 3 times, 4 times higher than the subsidy you are giving us. But who are those ones taking all of this, the wastages? It's you people now. It's the people in government. So you people in government are not ready to do one sacrifice, but you want the rest of Nigerians to do sacrifice. And then you will come on the 1st of October, a day that people will probably think to bring hope and happiness, which of course cannot bamboozle me. And then you continue to tell them the same gaseous, the same loose rhetorics. If you cuckoo won't kill them, do Operation Crocodile Tears like Buhari did now. And no, let us know, don't entice me with beautiful words. And beyond that, I have a brain, I can think. Right. Why did you go and buy that plane? How much is it?
All right,
How many cars can you drive? Show Nigerians that you are humble.
We have to run now, Mogaji.
Hold on, please. A man at 72 has very few options. A man at 72 has very few options. He can die anytime. He's appointed to man to live to be 70 and then die. What exactly should he do? He should be thinking of, when I meet my God, why am I going to give, what report am I going to give to God that I was president and this is what I did for the people? It's not about me. It's not about you. It's about him to think. And say, okay, we have had selfless. We had people like Bodebi, that was the finance minister to Papa Olowo. We had people like Professor Woni, go and study their lives. We had people like Papa Jasin, and go and study the lives of those who worked with him. There was a man, there was a commissioner that somebody came and gave 50,000. He returned the money and reported the contractor. Somebody else was given money to go and buy drugs. It remained $5,000. He returned it to the coffers. This even happened in the 70s, between 73, 79, and 83. We had people, we still have certain people that can come up and do so much more. But then you need 4 billion to run to be governor. And you are telling me you want good governance. How can good governance? The man that put 4 billion down to run to be governor, you think he's crazy? And you think he won't recoup his money first? It's after he has taken his 4 billion back that he can think of what to do for you. It's only logical. So we don't need a system that demands the worst out of people even. Because if somebody had to go and borrow the money, well, every money has cost. If the man had to go and borrow the money from somewhere, whatever it is, that money must come back.
All right.
And you, at the end of the day, you now say you want to blame a bad leader. The leader you created by the wrong system you have chosen.
All right.
Why did Awolowo need Awolowo didn't need to campaign beyond the Kennel? All he needed to do was just coming from his constituency. He had to rule from Badagry to Asaba.
All right, Mogaji, are you saying that, 2 questions, sir, as we round up? Number one is, you have constantly talked about, the people and the system we chose and the choice of our leaders. Are you blaming Nigerians for the woe, that some leaders have, put on this country to say we are the enablers? Is that what you're saying?
Well, there's an Abiku that keeps coming and coming again. Our people had the antidote to Abiku. My grandfather and the father of the late Doladipo were priests and catechists. My late father actually brought Doladipo back to the church. What I'm just trying to say is this. There is Duro Dola, there is Duro Rike, there is Duro, we have all these names of Abiku. But we do something in Yoruba land to make sure that they don't die again, so that they can stay. Nigeria has become an Abiku. All we need to do is look for how this Abiku will not come on repeated times. Otherwise, this stillbirth, this stillborn will continue for as long as it will take before the final disintegration.
So what should we do, sir? What should we do moving forward?
What should we do is think. What should we do is have a conversation. What do we do? Okay, let's even start from the Southwest. The Yoruba has always had the mechanism. I don't know what has happened. I remember that when the war was looming, the July 29 coup had come. On the 2nd of August, Gowon was named. On the 3rd, he released Awolowo. Awolowo went to check himself. By the time all of that happened, Ojukwu had said no more. They went to Ebri, which people call Aburi, in Ghana, from 1st of January 67 to 7th of January. There was a stalemate, and at the end of the day, the Yoruba too now realized that they too must have a conversation, which they held at Makpu Hall in 1967. Now, something happened that day, and I was part of a reenactment of sorts. It was Obga and Demo and all the Obas and everybody. But then there was General Adebayo, who convened the meeting, which was called the leaders of thought. But he excused himself and said, I can't be leader. I'm just a soldier. It was Akinjide, who was the spokesperson of the Demo. The party against Awolowo, who nominated Awolowo to be the leader of the Yorubas. So that is prescient. That is Omoluabi. Let the Yoruba get together and appoint someone and say, look, this time we will forget all about our differences. We must sit down. Politics aside, this is not about APC or PDP or Labour or NMPP. It is about the future of our race. Let the Yoruba first do that. As I'm talking to you, my friends in the Middle Belt, they've had 6 meetings in the last 3 months. There is Panagda. That's a group in the Middle Belt. There is Restructure Middle Belt. There's the Middle Belt Forum. Now, they'll be having meetings. These people never saw eye to eye. But now, something has brought them together. There is even an audio going around. Before, you will see communicate. What they are doing now is to say, for those who didn't come, hear the audio. Now, where is our own audio? So, we need in Yoruba land to do something fast. Because anything can happen tomorrow. If something happens tomorrow now, where will the Yoruba be? What defenses do we have? What mechanisms do we have in place to even say we want to secure our position in this same Nigeria that some people want to die upon? So we must have a conversation. We just must continue to have this idea of the foreboding of anything that can happen and be adequately prepared for it. The only thing that can help, that can save, is to restructure this country back to what it was in 1963. We just have to do that. Each person must be allowed to grow. In Yoruba land, there is one way by which all of us are brought up, and that is to have a farm. The farmstead must have perimeters. And then you will be allowed to walk and do anything you want to do within your perimeter. I'll be allowed to do the same thing in my own. And that is restructuring. If I don't do well in my own farmstead, it will show on me and my family. If I need something from you that I don't have, I will come to you. It can be trade by barter. If I have something that you don't have, you can come to me. Otherwise, I will sell, you will buy. But each will be self-sufficient. That is restructuring. We cannot continue where some people will be exporting, developing terror. And here, we are producing 75% of VAT. Now, there is a message that is going around that,
we have to go.
We have not, NMPC has not given federal government any money. It's money from customs and all that we are spending. But the Yorubas are not thinking, where is this money coming from? Is it from the border?
We have to run, sir.
Border in Katsina. Borders are, the borders and the ports are in Lagos, Apapa. There's Roro, there's Tinkan. And there's the Apapa port. And that is where all of these monies are coming from Yoruba land. We are responsible for 67.7% of non-oil revenue. You are responsible for 53% of our GDP.
Mogaji,
so what are we getting?
We understand we have to run.
So that conversation must happen.
Of course. And
that conversation must happen. There must be restructuring.
Very well.
Otherwise, look at us. We have
to run at this time.
Sir. Yes, sir, because we are, this segment of this program, it's practically finished. Well, one more sincerely thank you for your time, on the program this morning. As always, I trust us. You always talk about everything that has to do with the betterment of this great country, irrespective of the challenges. And you have said it. We must continually talk rather, in all sincerity, also have a better and a greater Nigeria. Former Publicity Secretary of the Afenifere, and by all rights, I dare say that, all rights and privileges as well, he is an elder statesman, Mogaji, Gboyega, Adejumo. Thank you for your time and take care. Happy New Year.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much. And of course, quite a conversation we've just had, took us down memory lane, what happened pre-independence. But then we still talking about Nigeria 64. We take this quick break. When we come back, we change the dimension. Stay with us.